Hey, it's Randy. I apologize if I don't always look directly at the camera. I'm also working on a comic today, or the comic for today. One of the questions I get asked a lot at conventions or in email sometimes is, has something positive ever ruined a relationship or caused problems in my dating life? Usually when I'm asked this, it's not like a passing curiosity. It's almost kind of hope from the person who's asking me that, oh, there has to be some really awesome story about some woman I've dated being very offended or feeling upset about the comic, whatever. Or a little bit of, grr, grr, I hope this bastard's got what's coming to him at least once. And the reality is, no, it hasn't really affected, or caused any major problems. There have been a couple of times it's caused some weird moments. Partly because one of my exes, my friend Mercy, I mined her a lot for the character Branwyn, and after we decided it was not going to work, it was a little weird, I think, to have that character still be used a lot. Which wasn't the main reason I got rid of the character. It was actually, it just felt it was time to remove Branwyn from comic. But, I mean, it wasn't like she was angry. It's more of a just uncomfortable feeling. And I can appreciate her reasoning for that. And I have had one person try to blame the comic for problems that they caused. Basically, them doing something very, very crappy and hurting my trust. But it was literally nothing more than I'm trying to blame this comic. I don't want to have to face the fact that I've just done something very, very awful. So, there's that. Now, I have had it cause some weird moments in my dating life, like casual dating. The most obvious example I can think of that was a woman I went on one date with. And it was pretty much a blind date, let's be realistic here. I didn't know much about her, and she seemed very nice. And about 10-20 minutes into the date, we're at a restaurant, and she goes on what her plan is, and her plan is to be married in under a year and have her first child in under a year and a half. And as best as she could tell, I would make a fine father with some exceptions, and she went into the list of problems that she saw in me. And one of them was she had found my comic. And that she didn't want to be married to the guy who did that very mean comic strip, and so I would have to stop doing it. I should point out at this point, I didn't even know this woman's last name. I knew her first name, and that was it. We hadn't done anything beyond I shook her hand when I met her because I just didn't know what else to do. And she gave me a very light hug. So it seemed to me, a little extreme to talk about what I was going to have to do to be a proper husband and father for her future thought babies. Needless to say, that kind of killed it. And I had a few other dates in the past where it was, you go on out with a few people and they Google you and they see you do this comic. And some got very uncomfortable because they were worried that they would turn up in the strip eventually, which my general reaction would be, don't be an awful human being. But I did have one other date where the woman kept dropping all these hints like, oh, I'd really hate to appear in your comic. It'd be awful and embarrassing. Oh, I don't know what I would do. And I finally said, don't worry, you're never going to be in my comic. And that's when I found out she was trying to do reverse psychology and hoping that I would put her in the comic to show it's not so bad and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't date very well anymore. I've kind of given up on that whole concept. But the reality of the matter is I avoid putting anyone I'm dating in SP directly. I've given cameos to some people. There's a woman who has appeared twice in SP. One was I want to say May 3rd or May 3rd strip, where May 3rd, 2003, where Claire storms to Dav's apartment and offers herself up to him, and he's having sex with someone. That was my girlfriend at the time, and she appeared later after we broke up. But again, we're still friends. She was the FBI agent who interrogated Mike in the Naked Elf storyline a year later. Um, and I've given like little bit parts. My last girlfriend appeared in A Life with Rippy strip, and is actually the very first strip that had Fluffmodius in it. But beyond that, like beyond like, the occasional cameo and nod. Oh, of course, I did also a Valentine's Day strip 2007 that was the parody of asking someone to marry you, which I have had friends who've done, and I think it's cute, but I couldn't do it. But beyond that, I've always thought it was a bad idea to put your significant other in the comic, because you never know when things are going to fall apart, or what you may think is cute and sweet and hilarious and everyone will enjoy it was meant to be a private moment. And I've heard from too many people trying to start comics of just horror stories of they thought this would be a funny joke, and the person they were hoping would be amused by it was really hurt and angry. So my general recommendation to anyone who's starting a webcomic is don't put your significant other in the comic until you're 100% sure, both of you, that this is going to last a while. And even then, make sure they know what you're about to do. But if you're hoping for some amazing story of how SP ruined the love of my life, or I chased some woman off because I was so thoughtless and cruel in my comic, I got nothing. I've never done that. In fact, I don't think I've even really chased anyone off to begin with. But if you want to pretend, go to it. I'm sure there's someone out there who will happily tell you that my comic has ruined their life and they haven't even met me yet. Yeah, I get a lot of fun emails.